Hey there team, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Nebuchadnezzar. We are revisiting this in 2023 for multiple reasons. One, I think it's a great little throwback game to the sort of Caesars of yesteryear, a bit of an older style game. You really don't see it these days, the forced isometric with this sort of production chain logistics management component. We'll get into that, but importantly, the adventures of Sargon Sargon the Second, or whatever. I think the DLC is just called The Adventures of Sargon, is the DLC that's just dropped recently. We're having a bit of a feature of that. In fact, that's a mission that I'm on at the moment. I was just poking and prodding, getting familiar with the game all over again, and we'll get into it. I'll give you some broad strokes of what's been added and what's in the DLC and what this game actually is, see if it's something that you might find interesting. I have muted the soundtrack. It has some really nice, like Middle Eastern vibes. I actually really like the soundtrack, but unfortunately every time I make one of these videos I get struck. It's not whitelisted, so you're just gonna have to take my word for it. It has a wonderful soundtrack that I just can't feature on this format. Anyway, so let's start from the top down. Adventures of Sargon is a DLC that's been added and it's fairly robust from a campaign perspective. I just thought I'd show you that I've jumped in and had a bit of a look, and you can see here my objectives are already army power and engineers, and this is already some pretty serious mid to late game stuff. Also worth noting that the main road of transit is all the way down here, and if you do know anything about this game, that's a nightmare. It really hurts with sort of your projected work. I suppose you could try and pump irrigation from the river all the way down here, but I don't think that's really how most are going to play it. The long and short of it is it has an anno-like, I suppose, in modernity or contemporaneously, whatever you'd like to call it. The anno is the system that a lot will understand, where you have classes and tiers of population and their requirements. You can see here at your basic poor house, they need bread and they need milk. You set up a delivery chain for that and it unlocks the ability to then upgrade to ceramics and water and higher tiers of that sort of population. So it's all about managing that, but the reason I pointed that out, that this DLC is not something that you would jump into if you weren't already fairly familiar with or have completed the main game, is even just the fact that your population immigrates in. You can see these dudes walking back and forth, but if I, for example, were to build some new houses, like so, they don't immediately fill up. However, I should have scope for more people to come in. So you'd have to go all the way out here. I'll hold down the speed up button, which I think is a great little system. There's only one button. Here they come now, right? So my point is, the reaction, the labor reaction to expanding your supply chain is intense, and this is only the first mission of the DLC. So what's the news? The good news is, if you already played a whole bunch of Nebuchadnezzar, this is just a huge value add, and at that higher skill level. I think it was like 14 missions or something like that. We'll just go back to main menu. What I will do is actually really quickly jump into the beginning of the campaign, the Sargon campaign, right? To show you that you can pick difficulties and all that. They've got like voice acting added, which I'm sympathetic because it's more of an indie budget, but there's like an AI generated component to it. It's always tough to poo-poo when someone's trying to value add, but maybe they might have been better off just not voicing it at all. That sounds so critical and nasty, but it's not supposed to be. I will show you so you understand what I'm talking about. Officer would like to talk to you.
King, the core of our army has just collapsed. We must withdraw quickly, or our soldiers will be massacred.
How is that possible? Send out riders.
So Sargon's voice acted. I'm pretty sure the officer is AI generated.
Is that wise? Don't you see we can no longer win this battle?
It might just be the dev team doing their own voice acting. I mean, it's cool, I guess. It's something, And then when it comes to you sort of in a monologue.
But the same cannot be said, but the battle is...
He shuffles nervously in place.
Yeah, that's a bit much.
You look around and see the battle line already broken.
Anyway, I'm not trying to bash on the game, but I just thought I'd point it out, and that's how you sort of start straight in. So if you'd never played this game before, you're not going to know what the hell you're doing. What we'll do is we'll spend a bit more of the video going back. I will just go into the basic Nebuchadnezzar campaign. Where could maybe I just jump in here because I changed computers, so I don't have access to the whole campaign. I don't know, what's 4? Let's try, what is this? Number of houses at any given level. Okay, that sounds pretty basic. The first few are very tutorial heavy. What I'll do is just give you an abridged version of that. I'll explain the core mechanics. It's a wonderful game. Like, as I play it again, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to put 50 hours into this. like it just gets me sucked right in. Anyway, so it teaches you all the basics. Open the okay, right. Where is that? Advisors tab. The economy in this, open the advisor tab with gods to continue. That's all for now. Oh, what is this? This must have been added. This wasn't in it before. Gods? Okay, right. So there's some mechanics. We're not going to get into everything, but there's some stuff in there that maybe I'm not super across. At the core, you have your main sort of road that you draw immigrants from, and you have your water source for irrigation. Immigration and irrigation. So if we were to just sort of start out basic, let's get a house. All right? Let's plonk a house right there. And I'll hold down the speed up button. You can let go, I guess. See, population. All right, it just wants us to get our population up. Okay, cool. Oh my God, how much stuff has been added. First settlers, welcome, 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 welcome. So if you click on here, straight away, it tells you that they need bread and milk. We brushed up against that briefly before, okay? So let's start with bread. Bread requires wheat in the form of a crop farm. You can see we've got a lot less buildings available to us here. So let's say we put a crop farm, oh, I don't know. I mean, it's all a bit barren there. You try and stay away from this hard-packed soil, if you can help it, because you can't irrigate that sort of soil. I think you could probably move the road. But again, just for the sake of it, let's go crop farm. And that looks lovely. It'd be a good example of irrigation as well. So you click on here, and by default you have 2 farmer slots, which take 30 workers, and then you've got a transport slot. What we'll do is we'll select wheat field, but you can get dates and all sorts of crazy stuff. Like, this is just very basic stuff. Drag it out, might as well cover the whole lot. You can see only here can actually be grown on because it's not, packed soil. It's actually irrigated. So in order to fix this, what we're going to do is we will go down to, where is it? Irrigation pump. And we're just going to pump water off the river, right? Like that. Oh, how cool does that look? All right. So if you right click, you have some basic available stuff there. The last building that you built will be there. Warehouse is a pretty generic building that you're going to need to use a lot. But irrigation and roads, right? But you can also right click on something there and you've got a clone tool as well. So there's quite a lot you can do with just right click. I think it's actually really handy. Irrigation. So let's build the irrigation canal back to front, because then it's empty, right? Just to show you what it looks like. All right, it's just a dirt hole. Once you start connecting this up, you can see there it irrigates in a radius. What is it? 1, 2, it must be 3 blocks. Bang! Look at that. Now the pump only has so much sort of head basically. So what you can do is, it's not super complex. You just stack them. You just stack them onto the same irrigation channel, and it will pump the water farther and farther in. Right? Let's see where we can squeeze another one. Now, because of the isometric nature of this game as well, your building has its limitations. Look at that. Beautiful irrigation. Wonderful. All right? Now, we haven't built a road in, which is a little bit of an oversight. Let's remove that. I might even remove that because it's in my way. And then you can have roads and irrigation channels cross each other like that to a limited extent. And I'll re-establish some houses because now I have no population. I don't know, whatever. This will do perfectly, right? Okay, cool. So that's complaining it doesn't have workers. You've got up here, we've only got the 1 population tier, and it gives you an idea of unemployment relative level. You can see that is going to go from red to white, basically, as all the jobs fill in. And so we're essentially, we have unemployment. What you can do here is you could add more fields. And if I recall, geez, we'll do the quick math, 18 squares each. 9. 3 by 3, 9, 18. So they can do sort of 2 segments each, right? 2, 4, 6, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, okay, cool. That works out well. There's still obviously, you still need road access though. So you're never going to get 100% efficiency. This last bloke you can see there is doing 15 out of 18. And the one little porter looking after him is fine. Alright, we still need more population. And it is one of those sort of catch-22s. You want to increase the yield of your population. You also want to increase your sort of housing situation. Anyway, let's go to the next level, right? So the next level is a warehouse. Now, warehouses have this range. You can see the blue range is sort of a service area. Let's see. We'll just plonk it there, right? I know idiosyncratic people are going to go nuts. And this dude is just going to... That's the dude here, the little porter. He's just going to start dragging all the little bits of grain down there. And it's actually a really good visualizer as well. You can see how much grain gets held in each square. It's 4 per little cubit. Or square, or whatever you want to call it, and you can see it goes up to 36. So what you could do is you could say, well, for starters, we'll make it so it's only wheat, right? And let's say he can only have, oh, it does it in 4s too. Let's say he can only do 8, right? So he will only fill 2 of those squares. So the logistics system is actually fairly robust, even though it's kind of simple. And this is how you can sort of balance your bottlenecks a lot more. Anyway, wheat's not complete. We need a bakery. Bakery here. And then and again, see, it's within the service area, right? Scarlet, what happens if it's not within the service area? Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We might even set something up intentionally broken on after that. So here we go. And these dudes just do the 1-to-1 bakering, and their little porter or mover or whatever you want to call it, he's grabbing the grain from here. Right? And then what he will do is he will actually deposit the cooked bread back into that warehouse, right? Because it's within the radius. Well, actually, we'd have to designate it to hold bread. And it's as simple as that. The AI checks the radius that it's in. We can add another baker as well. Cool. So how do we feed them? And that's the last sort of step. You have to take a market, which is a distribution center. Where is it? I'm sorry, I find this UI is actually kind of not great. Like, it's pretty, but I get lost. Poor market, right? So poor market is where it's at. We'll just make sure it's all within the radius. Same sort of idea. You've got little porters there, and you can see you've got more stacked on because this is going to go out and fetch lots of different resources. And you add the little delivery lady, right? And you pick the resource. In this case, it's going to be baked bread, and then you waypoint her. And essentially, what we could just do is probably just click that there, because she will service this small blue radius area. And you can set up like loops and things like that as well, so you can go up and down a street, but she has a logistical limit basically on her ability to deliver, how much she can carry. And then you can see here, if you click on the buildings, they've all got bread, which ticks down on a decimal over time. And that's how you balance that bottleneck. And I actually think this ticking decimal system is a really great visual for where your overflow is at for the supply of that current good to these houses. All right, and then you want to get milk. But then you can also see you need water at the next level, which you might have seen that we had a well. We may have more population on the way actually, because you know what, the population size of the house hasn't gone up without milk. So what will we do? What will we do? Let's expand that road. You know what? Let's just do that. Let's do this. Again, this is just all a little bit slapdash. And I want to copy this, and we'll just bung that down. Now, we're probably not going to get to the sort of economic making coins component, but having sort of trade with your trade partners is a big part of how you make coins. And then you build these big like temples of worship, right? They're sort of like wonders in Age of Empire, I suppose. So you don't really use money as actively as you would in a different game with a different economy. In this, it's more about the survival bottleneck balancing to pump your population up, and then it'll be in service in crafting like giant bricks to build your pyramids. Now you can see we don't really have such a population problem. I suppose we could add a waypoint up here and send her up that way. There we go, off she goes. She might not, oh there you go, she did, but if she doesn't have enough bread to get to the end, and they will visually change, so when they tier up to the next level of building, they won't look like these shit shacks, and you'll be able to actually see at the end of your sort of delivery chain where it's falling over. Okay, cool. It's probably worth going into livestock, which isn't really that different from what we were looking at before. I mean, let's go there. We'll do, I think. Well, what I wanted to do was talk about caravans. So let's do something like this. In fact, actually, let's get some hard packed dirt involved as well, just to show. All right, so what we're going to do is choose a goat pasture. Again, usually, or at least in later game, there's a lot more things to choose from, but because this is just right at the beginning. You can see there the packed area is cordoned off immediately. Not much you can do about that, okay? Let's get let's run a dirt road here. Why can't I run the dirt road? Am I pressing something wrong? What am I doing wrong? Oh, you know what? It's because I've cordoned it for the goat pastures. Oh, that's interesting. We might actually be able to leverage that a little bit. Let's see. What if we do that? Just lean into it. You know, the packed dirt's going to be an exclusion zone whether we like it or not. Now we're going to have to irrigate. I think that will be far enough for the channel. And we can just copy that. Oh, it's not quite close enough to go into there, but that's okay. Again, I'm a bit rusty. It's still good to sort of showcase all of this. So you probably want to run your irrigation up against it, or you don't want to don't listen to me at all. You'll come up with your own bloody irrigation plan. I'm sure it'll be infinitely better than mine. Anyway, that's wonderful. That's perfect. All right, cool. And then we could probably add some more farmers or something, whatever. Cool. Nice. Okay, so they're going to start making milk. We're going to need a warehouse. What about there? That'll do. And they should automatically work it out. That is, do we have enough dudes? We don't even have enough dudes for basic farming. That's okay. Let's copy. Alright, we'll just wait for them to immigrate. Here they come. Looks alright, there we go. We're starting to make milk. Old mate's bringing the milk along. Very cool. So then what you do is you want to make a caravan. And I don't think it really matters where you put the caravan at. It's more like it's like the tram depot. And then what we're going to do is say milk. And they've actually changed the system a lot. I think it works really well now. But you can just mouse over this. Caravan is loading goods, red. Okay, load milk. And then we'll go down to here and we'll say unload milk. Is that allowed to take milk? There we go. So you can see the little caravan is going to start bringing that over distance. And that's how you deal with things being outside of that zone. And then what you could do is you can go to the poor market. You can go, here you go, let's give milk. Got the milk lady. Could probably go like that. There we go. And then it's smart enough to close the loop. So she'll run milk all the way around the back. And look at this. Now we're getting a big influx of people because these buildings leveled up to 2. And you can see they can hold 70 people, whereas the basic one can only hold 33. Anyway, look, that's some broad strokes sort of, well, it's an overview. It's a revisit. It is me showing you a really wonderful game and how it works. Again, if you're like 100-year-old gamer from the Caesar days, the Pharaoh days, you probably sweat when you see this, because this is a game that does not exist these days. And I think they've done so well with this Nebuchadnezzar game as just a wonderful throwback to an almost dead subgenre, dare I say, at least in the modern context. And the fact that they're still supporting it with updates, I think they added like a colorblind mode to it as well, so there was a big update. I don't know how much it added though. But the DLC that's focused on just giving you more challenging missions to do on top of what you've already got, it's all pretty good, man. Anyway, so that's my sort of overview of Nebuchadnezzar for the moment. Let me know what you reckon. If you enjoy this sort of video, this sort of format, we've been fiddling with different things on the channel, but I do like sort of just sitting down and taking the time to say, hey, here's a cool game. Maybe you should check it out and put it on your list. All right, might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.